Right, 3 disturbing true retail stories. While she's shopping me. Story 1.
I work at a CVS open 24 hours a day. I've been working at this location for 3 years now, and I'm one of the higher-ups. I agreed to take on the overnight shifts because I believe it helps my chances of getting another promotion, and I like to be on my boss's good side.
Do you get paid more
There
for
would
that as
only
well?
be one employee working the 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. shift, as that's all that's really needed. Once the pharmacy opens at 9 a.m., that's when business usually picks up.
Right.
The 2 employees before me left after I was set up.
Wait, I just thought a pharmacy that's open 24 hours? America's different, bro. America's different. I think our pharmacy, the latest it opens in the UK is like 5, 6.
At my hours, so few customers come in that my job varies from cash register to simply stock working. The beeper at the front door that would go off would alert me when a customer would enter, so I'd know when to go back to the register and wait.
Yo, bro. Imagine 3 a.m. pitch black at night and you hear that sound. That's terrifying. That's actually terrifying.
A few hours into my shift, I went back to the register to check my phone, which I had charging, and I had a new voicemail from an unknown number. I pulled it up and listened. It was some weird voice on the other end that I couldn't tell belonged to a male or female, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. Like, the sound quality was terrible. The transcription was unavailable for that reason.
I see.
Obviously, I just ignored it because everyone gets weird calls once in a while. As I continued doing stock work, my phone started to go off. I pulled out my phone and saw a bunch of texts from that number that just called. The first text said, "Call back when you can." The second one said, "I know you're at work, I'm coming to visit."
Nah,
the third
that's
one
weird.
said, "What time are you working till?" I had no idea who this could be.
You better ring
I
him.
texted back, "Who the hell is this?" The typing bubble popped up for like 20 seconds. Then it went away. They didn't respond to that. Okay. A little unnerving, yes, but I still had to go about my work.
You got a crazy ex?
Eventually, I heard the ding by the front door, alerting me someone entered. So I went back to the register and waited. I didn't see anyone walking around though, and I waited there for quite a while actually. Eventually, I just decided, okay, that's enough waiting, and went back to stocking shelves. I'd say it was around 2 a.m., a couple hours into my shift. I got a new cart full of items from the back section, this time beauty products, the second aisle in the store. I brought the cart over there and noticed a woman in the corner of the next aisle over, the first aisle. I stepped into that aisle and looked down, asking if she needed any help. She was looking down at one of the products in the corner. She didn't acknowledge me. Didn't know if she heard me or not, but I just felt awkward.
Might be
So
on
I
drugs.
left her alone. I walked back to the register just to wait there for her to finish up, and then I started getting more texts from that number. I was basically getting spammed with random messages that made no sense, except one that said, "I'm here." So I said
What?
screw it, and I called the number. I heard a ringing sound coming from inside the store.
It's
and
her,
my heart
bro.
started beating twice as fast. I felt a heavy feeling in my throat. I canceled the call, and the ringing stopped. I brought myself to walk over to that last aisle again, where
Nah, I ain't staying there. I'm literally going. I'm going. Fuck the shop. I'm gone.
the ringing was coming from. That woman was still there in that corner. I yelled, "Joke's over, I'm calling the cops, whoever you are." I almost knew it had to be some girl I knew playing a prank on me. I went back around the counter because for some reason I felt safer there. I really didn't want to call the police though. Instead, I called my best friend, who picked up on the first try.
Why?
I asked
Why would you not call the police? Huh?
him to think of anyone we knew with brunette hair who had my number and would be playing a prank on me like this. He guessed a few names, but based on the body shape of that woman, it was none of them. My friend told me to just stop being a pussy since it was a girl. I told him, alright, whatever, and hung up the phone. I was about to suck it up and walk over there
Okay.
when I noticed her, peering half of her head from around the corner of the beauty aisle.
Oh! Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is actually giving me fucking nightmares. Bro, this is gonna give me nightmares. This is actually gonna give me nightmares. This is freaky, man. Bro, this is freaky because I'm actually imagining myself being at the shop, walking around and seeing that.
She had to be kneeling down too because the shelf in that aisle
Oh
is
my
lower than
God.
the rest.
honestly, I would drop kick her head. I would run. Actually, no, I'd run the other way. I'm being honest. Like, if that was me in person, I'd run the other way. But I'd want to drop kick her head.
The first thing I noticed was blood trickling down her cheeks. She was smiling, and I heard her making these fucked up laughing sounds.
Oh, fuck
It looked
no!
like she cut the skin on her cheeks right next to her lips. And this was when I realized she wasn't our age. She looked like she was anywhere from 30 to 40. I took one step closer, and I recognized her. It was this lady with serious mental issues who had DM'd me with a fake account before.
You think?
As far as I knew, she was
Oh,
dangerous.
this is actually freaking me out, man. This is actually freaking me out.
And was supposed to be in some psychiatric center. She must have gotten my number through my Instagram, which I have set as a public figure profile, which includes my phone number. Seeing half her bloodied face peering at me, smiling, made me want to yak. I yelled at her to get away or I'd stab her. Of course, a complete bluff. I ran to one of the back aisles and hid from her.
Stab her.
I only sighed a breath of relief when I heard the beep of the front door go off. I went to go check if she was still there, but she wasn't. And so I called 911 and had the police take a report, showed them the CCTV footage, and warned them of her name and that she had serious mental issues. The officers were very nice and told me they'd be in the immediate area in case she returned. I blocked the number she was texting me from, and I like to think the police contacted her family.
She needs help. She needs desperate help, bro. Crazy.
I used to work at the dairy aisle in a grocery store. It was the worst job I ever had. A lot of heavy lifting, expired dairy products, and shivering. The big dairy cooler was in the back of the store in the area where all the groceries yet to be stocked on the shelves were kept. I would often just chill in the dairy cooler, no pun intended, because the supervisors on duty would never think to check on me in there. I'd bring a hoodie just so I wouldn't get cold. Anyway, one night I was working till 10 p.m. The store got quiet past 9. However, Mr. Senko, the supervisor who was a pain in the ass, was on duty. So after stocking the milk cartons one more time for the night, I brought everything to the back area again. On my way back to the dairy cooler to just hide and chill in there, I saw very briefly, for like half a second, the face of someone through the glass of the cooler door. But they either just ducked down or faded away out of my view. Who was in there? I went through the doors to see, and got hit with that blast of cold air and the loud sound of the giant refrigerator blowing cold air into the room. Boxes, pallets, and crates of milk everywhere, but no immediate sight of anyone. There were many places to hide behind the giant piles of boxes.
Hey, listen, buddy, just lock them in there. Lock them in there, they'll soon come knocking on.
No one was in there. So I did my usual. I sat on an empty milk crate hidden behind a big pile of boxes. Then suddenly the lights in the cooler turned off, and it went almost pitch dark, besides the light from outside the cooler coming in through the glass of the door. I had a mini freakout because I thought Mr. Senko knew I was in here and was basically signaling for me to come out. I stood up and came out from around the boxes, and then I froze. Something was blocking partial view of the two cooler doors.
Oh no.
There was a silhouette of a really tall person right in front of me.
Oh no.
It couldn't be Mr. Senko, he was kind of short. The figure right in front of me had to be a foot taller than me. Suddenly, the light flickered back on, and the figure I thought I saw right in front of me was no longer there. I nervously walked around where I thought I saw something standing. I even waved my hand through the air in that spot. I somehow felt like I wasn't alone in there, and so I burst through the doors and shut the dairy cooler light. I peeked inside now with the light off, but that figure I saw in there just a moment ago was still gone. I threw my apron off and clocked out early. I didn't care if Mr. Senko would be mad. I just needed to get out of there. That was the one paranormal thing to ever happen in my life.
Damn, bro. Yo, do you guys reckon people that work in like these shops and stuff, you know how like they got stock in the back? Do you reckon when they go home they just fill up their bag with a few food items? Like, no one's there. They're in the stock room or whatever. They're just like, hey, let me just put a drink in here, some chocolate in there, some crisps in there. Like, they're not gonna know, are they? May as well.
I do overnight stock shifts for various local Lowe's home improvement stores. All I do is work whichever specific location needs me for the night.
Yeah, but how would they know who, like, where's gone missing? Oh, yeah, cameras. Yeah, true. There'll be cameras. True. Fair point.
Dependent on which location is having the most business. My job is to unload trucks, operate forklifts in the back section and throughout the store, and do night stock work. The trucker on duty that night was Paul, the only other guy with me that night. Once we successfully unloaded the truck, he helped me sort them in the back room before going off to do another pickup with the truck. So I was left alone to continue work as normal, nothing I wasn't used to. I'd scan the new shipments to take inventory, then I'd bring the items out to the floor and stock shelves with the new items. That's exactly what I was doing, going back and forth from the back warehouse section to the main floor, stocking shelves, sometimes using the forklift. I was scanning items with the inventory gun towards the back section of the warehouse.
No thieves, bad karma. No, listen, Del Warden, right? Listen. They work there. So, and it's only food items. So, I see it as a little bonus. Because most of the time, they're getting paid minimum wage, right? They're working their asses off. I feel like they deserve, you know, a couple food items on the house. You know what I mean? They've been stocking all day, doing it. Should be their bonus, bro.
When a loud crash scared the living shit out of me, to the point that I jumped and turned around midair.
Raccoon.
It was a big box that had fallen off a large pile of pallets full of unopened packages. The box's contents didn't spill out. The box was still intact. So I went to get the forklift to lift the packages back up onto the pallet. It was at this point I smelt a funky odor, but it wasn't the most uncommon thing ever in the warehouse.
Oh, this was like the horror game that I played with the monster chasing you.
So I continued my work. At some point later that night, I turned the corner into the paint aisle and saw someone walking all the way down at the other side. They were dressed in dark clothes. No one else was supposed to be in the store, and they weren't wearing work clothes. So I shouted, "Hey." They turned around, and when they saw me, they took off running down an intersecting aisle. Naturally, I yelled again and started chasing after him. Of course, when I got to the intersecting aisle, he was nowhere to be seen. He could have been in any aisle by then. Still, I did one quick jog down the middle aisle to look through all the intersecting aisles, but I didn't see anyone. I called anyone who I thought could have possibly been on duty, but nobody even picked up. I was at a loss for who that could be. I had to assume it was an intruder. I returned to the warehouse, and as I walked through the doors, I heard another crash from the back section of the warehouse.
Very creepy.
I ran in that direction and discovered something had fallen from the same pile of pallets and boxes. That was it. I had to run and grab a ladder to go climb up the stack of boxes.
Oh, there's gonna be someone there.
When I got to the top, I realized there was a perimeter, or wall rather, of packages and boxes surrounding one big hole. In this hole, there was a homeless-looking man dressed in all black, the same man I had just seen. This was where the odor from earlier was coming from.
Living there.
He looked at me, and I looked back at him, speechless. I didn't know what to say. He got up and seemed as though he were coming to lunge at me. I quickly stepped down the ladder low enough to where I could jump off. Then I ran down the aisle of the warehouse and stopped. I got on the phone with the police, and a couple officers showed up 15 minutes later.
Damn, bro.
Of course, the little secret home that man had made between boxes was empty now. He evacuated with all of his stuff.
Wow.
Camera footage later revealed that man had been staying in that little secret spot he created for a whole week.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. Chat. If you're homeless, what an amazing place to set up home. Bro, think about all the free stuff you got. Well, illegally, but, you know. Damn. If I was homeless, I'd be setting up in McDonald's. I'd hide in McDonald's attic.
No one really checks the camera footage unless there's a reason to. That's how he got away with it unnoticed for so long.
Damn, bro. Crazy. Crazy. Creepy, but crazy.